Hello everyone, my name is Anitsu and I'm back with another Digimon deck profile video. So today I'm going to be taking a look at BT08, and BT08 offers us lots of new and powerful cards to build and iterate on new and existing decks. And today's deck is going to be a new iteration, or one possible iteration, of Yellow Hybrids. So Yellow Hybrids is still going to be a very powerful deck just because it is a control style deck that is focused on trying to keep your security as healthy as possible, and it has some of the easiest ways we have in the game to be able to recover to try to rig our security with lots of powerful tamers and options to really pose a threat to the opponent for wanting to attack into us, while we wait and build up one big Digimon to be able to punch the opponent's security relatively hard and chip them out for the rest of the damage that we need. We got a lot of two-color cards to add more possible combinations to what we could use in the Yellow Hybrids deck. And then on top of that, we just got a whole slew of new and more powerful options, so that way we could threaten the opponent with even more powerful security options. So onto the profile. Starting off with the Digitamas, you could really run any kind of Digitama you want in the deck. You could even run off-color Digitamas in the deck, depending on what your level 3 and various other supporting cards are looking like. But for this profile, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Cupimon because it's acting as one of the best draw engines on the Digitama slot for Yellow to be playing around with. Yellow has some very easy healing abilities to be able to recover, to be able to trigger Cupimon's ability more consistently. So what its ability is doing is, as long as we have 5 or more cards in our security when we attack with this Digimon, then we get to draw 1 card. So it's just helping us draw more cards to make the deck more consistent. And then because of that, I'm also going to be running 1 copy of Upamon as another card to help us draw cards based on our security. So Upamon's condition is, while we have 3 or fewer cards in our security when our Digimon attacks, then we get to draw 1 card, which we can maintain that 3 security threshold relatively easily when the opponent is trying to put a lot of pressure on us, making both of these really good Digitamas to help with the overall consistency of the deck. Next, on to the rookies, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Salamon. So this is the BT02 version of Salamon, and this card is still just one of the best cards we have at trying to recover. So it has the on-delete ability, where if we have 3 or fewer cards in our security, then we get to recover 1. So that way we have various different ways on trying to heal ourselves and being able to utilize our recovery abilities. And then the last rookie of the deck is going to be 4 copies of Patamon. So this is the starter deck Patamon, and this card is in the deck because we are going to be interacting with DP reduction. So this Patamon has the inheritable ability where during your turn, once per turn, when an opponent's Digimon is deleted by having its DP reduced to 0, then we get to gain 1 memory. So it just helps make some of our plays a little bit more memory efficient when we're utilizing some of our DP reduction cards. Next, on to the level 4s, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Kazemon. So Kazemon is going to be that Lobomon for the deck. It's just your vanilla hybrid, where we just are using its ability to Digivolve on top of yellow Tamers as if they were yellow level 3 Digimon. So that way we could just have a Tamer sitting on our field and then Digivolve it into Kazemon whenever we feel like we need to. And for that similar style reason, I'm also going to be running 4 copies of Zephyrmon. So Zephyrmon does have that ability where we could Digivolve it on top of our yellow Tamers as if they were yellow level 3 Digimon, but the difference is this card costs 2 as part of its ability, otherwise it Digivolves 3 on top of a level 3 normally, or we have the alternative cost to Digivolve it for 1 on top of a level 4, which gives the card a lot of extra flexibility on what we could do with it. And then it has a nice when Digivolving ability to reward us for all of the different ways that we could possibly play the card. So its when Digivolving ability states that if a card with hybrid in its traits or a Zoe is in this Digimon's Digivolution source, then all of the Digimon in your security will get plus 3000 DP until the end of the opponent's next turn, making it a little bit harder for them to want to attack it into your security, knowing that your Digimon are going to be boosted. And then the last champion of the deck is going to be 4 copies of Rapidmon. So Rapidmon is a 2-color Digimon, so its color combination is yellow and green. So if you wanted to, you could splash in a little bit of green to make this card more usable. But we don't necessarily need to make it more usable just because it's still a yellow Digimon and can Digivolve off of yellow level 3s. Although Digivolving off of level 3s is going to be a little bit more expensive at Digivolving for 4 on top of a green or yellow level 3, but that's okay because it has the Armor Purge ability to at least try to help protect itself. So the Armor Purge ability states that when this Digimon would be deleted, then we get to trash the top card of this Digimon to prevent that deletion, essentially de-digivolving it back down to a rookie to keep it on the field. But what we're trying to use this card for in the deck, it isn't necessarily those two abilities. It's the fact that it's basically just a mini Shine Greymon. So it has a when digivolving ability where we get to suspend one of our opponent's Digimon for each tamer we have in play, and then up to 3 of the opponent's suspended Digimon get minus 5,000 DP for the turn. So not only is it suspending the opponent's Digimon, making it vulnerable for us to attack into it to delete it, but it's also DP reducing that Digimon, so that way we have an easier time deleting it if we're attacking into it, or if it's just weak, then it'll just delete it outright. Next, on to the ultimates. I'm only going to be running 4 copies of JetSilphymon as the only level 5 that we need. So the whole intended purpose of this card is to digivolve it on top of our hybrid stack with a tamer, so that way we could digivolve it for 1 instead of it digivolving it for 3 normally, making it a really cheap and efficient level 5 to digivolve up into, to then be able to digivolve again into whatever level 6 that we're going to be using. And its when digivolving ability is one of the easiest ways we have to recover, because as long as we're digivolving it on top of a hybrid, then we get to recover 1 generically, so it doesn't require us to be at a particular security threshold to be able to get this recovery ability off, allowing us to easily maintain and exceed 5 cards in our security. Next, on to the level 6s, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Ophanimon Falldown mode. So Ophanimon Falldown mode is a pretty interesting card for this deck to be playing around with, even though we're not playing that deep into the purple side of things. To be able to maximize this card's usability, we could tech the deck to incorporate that if we really felt like it, but just using this for yellow is still really good because its when digivolving ability states that if this Digimon has a purple Digimon in its Digivolution source, then we get to delete one of the opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. We're not really going to be using that at all, but what we are looking to gain out of this card for yellow is where if this Digimon has a yellow card in its Digivolution source, then we get to recover 1 generically. So again, it just allows us to easily recover to be able to have lots of cards in our security. So the whole intended line of play is to build up a stack, digivolve for 1 into JetSilphymon, then digivolve JetSilphymon into Ophanimon to again recover 1, allowing us to recover 2 in a single turn. And then on top of that, it has an on-delete ability that we could take advantage of, where we get to play a purple or yellow level 4 or lower Digimon from our trash for free. So we could bring back a hybrid, we could bring back Rapidmon, we could kind of bring back any of our lower end Digimon to be able to help continue the aggression when this card eventually goes away. And then the last level 6 that I'm going to be running, which is 100% optional, is going to be 1 copy of Seraphimon. So Seraphimon from BT1 is going to be the powerhouse level 6 and is going to help us try to deal a little bit more damage, which is something the deck generally has a lack of or a hard time doing. So it has a when digivolving ability of allowing us to generically recover 1, doing a very similar line of play as Ophanimon Falldown mode, where we're just going up into JetSilphymon to go up into Seraphimon to be able to recover 2 in a single turn. Then on top of that, it has the ability where as long as we have 3 or more cards in our security, then this Digimon gains security attack +1, so that way we can actually try to deal damage to the opponent rather than try to chip them out to end games a little bit faster. And speaking of ending games a little bit faster, the last Digimon of the deck and only level 7 of the deck is going to be 2 copies of Susanoomon. So Susanoomon is going to try to act as that big game finisher because it has a very powerful ability of security attack +2, so that way when we're swinging with our Susanoomon, we'll be able to hit the opponent for 3 checks, which is a lot of their security if they don't have the ability to recover. Then on top of that, when we digivolve into this card for using him, then we get to delete one of the opponent's Digimon, which is pretty good control and removal, on top of the fact that he is a little bit expensive at digivolving for 7 on top of any color level 6 Digimon, so it makes all of our level 6s even more usable, and he does have an alternative evolution cost by allowing us to digivolve on top of a tamer as if that tamer was a level 6 Digimon by placing 10 tamers or hybrids back up from our hand or trash to the bottom of the deck, and that's just pretty good because it helps us refill our deck when we're running low, because we are a grind style of deck most of the time, trying to stall out the opponent, waiting for a good opportunity to have lots of memory to be able to make a powerful plays happen. Next, onto the options, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Schwarz Lehrsatz. So Schwarz Lehrsatz is going to be our big mass board removal card. Each tamer we have in play, we get to delete one of the opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon. So with a whole wide field of tamers, we could delete a wide amount of Digimon. And then it's even a really good card in security, acting as a solid security threat because its security ability activates its main to try to help clear the opponent's field and keep it as clear as it possibly can, so that way we could aggress as safely as we possibly can. Next, I'm going to be running 1 copy of Blinding Ray. So Blinding Ray is a flex spot for the deck. You don't necessarily have to run it if you don't want to. I just like running it because sometimes gaining that instant memory could really help make or break certain lines of play. And the main ability states that we have to trash the top card of our security stack, which is okay. It's not ideal, but we have the ability to recover to keep our security as healthy as we possibly can to be able to utilize this card. And the crazy thing is, if we don't have any cards in our security, then this card is just 100% free to use. And for using it, we get to gain 2 additional memory to, again, try to make those power plays possible. Next, I'm going to be running 1 copy of Reinforced Memory Boost. So Reinforced Memory Boost is still limited to 1, so we can only run 1, but that's okay because this card is just absolutely insane. So it has the ability to look at the top 2 cards of our deck, then place 1 into our hand and 1 at the top of our security. So not only is it replacing itself with a card off the top that we want, but we also get to try to rig our security with various other cards as well. Then it has the delay ability of being able to gain 3 memory, which is more powerful than any of the other memory boosts, so that way we again could try to make those power plays possible. And its security ability at worst just puts it into the battle area to use its delay ability to gain that 3 memory at a later turn, trying to again make those power plays possible. And then the last option of the deck is going to be 2 copies of Chaos Degradation. So this is a 2-color option card, so we do have to meet the color requirements of both purple and yellow in order to play this card, but that's not super hard considering we have a purple tamer to sit on our field to act as that purple source, or in combination with Falldown mode, then it just automatically meets both requirements to be able to utilize this card. But this is a very powerful option card with a new form of removal that a lot of cards don't have protection against. So it has the main ability where we get to place one of the opponent's Digimon face down at the top or bottom of the opponent's security stack. Then if we do, we get to trash the top card of the opponent's security stack. So that way we could either put it on top and burn that card immediately, or put it to the bottom and try to burn a different card off of their security, trying to also manipulate the opponent's security as well. Then on top of that, it has the security ability where at worst we get to try to remove the opponent's Digimon by placing it to the top or bottom of their security stack. So even though in security we are technically recovering them, it's not the end of the world because we're still getting rid of that Digimon body, which is what we want to gain out of the card anyway. And then lastly, onto our tamers, and speaking of our purple tamer, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Kari Kamiya. So this is the BT04 version of Kari, and this is going to be our purple tamer for the deck, and it's a really good card to synergize with our deck just because we have the ability to try to manipulate our security, and Kari Kamiya can help reward us for doing that or de-incentivize the opponent from attacking into our security. So her ability states that during all turns, when a card is removed from your security stack, then we get to suspend this tamer to gain a memory. Next, I'm going to be running 3 copies of TK. So this is the BT01 TK, and this is going to be the deck's dedicated memory fixing tamer. So at the start of our turn, if our memory is ever less than 3, he'll just always hard set it to 3, which is really good, allowing us to make our plays as consistently as we possibly can. Then he has a nice on-play ability that could combo with Kari, because we get to look at our security stack, reveal 1 card from among it and add it into our hand, and then if that card is yellow, then we get to recover 1. So that way we could use this in combination with Kari to basically make it so TK only costs 3 instead of 4. And then on top of that, the consistency at looking at our security, because we could constantly add cards into it, just helps with the overall flow of how the deck wants to function. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of TK and Kari. So TK and Kari is one of the most, if not the most important tamer in the deck, just because it has a very easy ability that we could trigger depending on how many of these cards that we have on the field to just gain lots of memory to be able to make very powerful plays even possible. So it has the ability where at the start of our turn, if we have fewer cards than our opponents, then we get to gain 2 memory. So not only does this de-incentivize the opponent from wanting to attack us because they could get our security lower than theirs to gain lots of memory off of this card card's also just really good at helping control the field when we're actually attacking with some of our Digimon because of its secondary ability where during your turn, when we have a yellow Digimon attack, then we get to suspend this tamer to give one of the opponent's Digimon minus 1000 DP, and again, this ability also stacks depending on how many TK and Karis we have in the field that we want to suspend when we're attacking. Next, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Zoe. So Zoe is going to be the primary fodder card for what we want to Digivolve on top of in terms of our tamers, because, well, she's the only tamer with an inheritable ability. So inheritable ability states that during the opponent's turn, all of the security Digimon get plus 3000 DP, trying to make them a little bit more threatening and scary for the opponent to try to have to deal with. Then what this card is doing as a tamer is it's just acting as another consistency card similar to TK, where its on-play ability states that we get to search our security stack for 1 card with hybrid or 10 warriors in its traits, add it to our hand, and then if we did, we get to recover 1, so it also combos with Purple Kari to be able to utilize that to make Zoe even more efficient as well. And then the last tamer of the deck and last card of the deck is going to be 2 copies of Cody. So Cody is a new tamer to come out with BT08, and it's a good card to synergize with some of our 2-color Digimon, which we're running 2 different sets of. So what this card is doing is at the start of our main phase, if we have a yellow Digimon in play, then we get to gain 1 memory, so it's just helping us with our passive memory gain to, again, make more powerful plays possible, and it also has a nice secondary ability that's acting very similar to TK and Kari, just more specifically with our 2-color Digimon. So during our turn, when your Digimon with 2 or more colors attacks, we get to suspend this tamer to give one of the opponent's Digimon minus 2000 DP, so when our Rapidmon or our Ophanimon Falldown mode swings, we could use Cody to DP reduce the opponent's Digimon even more for even more levels of control on top of what TK and Kari was already doing, on top of whatever else we were already doing before that. And then there's still just a whole bunch of different things that you could gain out of the deck, depending on what you're trying to use for the deck. If you wanted to try to make Rapidmon a little bit more efficient, then we could include the BT03 Terriermon, because it's acting as a good anti-meta memory blocking rookie. And if you are trying to play purple, we do have Kazemon to act as that counterpart. But in addition to playing Kazemon, we also have another floodgate in the form of Psychmon to stop the opponent from reducing their play costs, so that way they're always going to have to play their cards as fairly as they possibly can. And if we are going with the yellow route and you do want to run a yellow floodgate, then we do have Cupimon to stop the opponent from reducing their Digivolution costs, forcing them to Digivolve fairly. But if we do want to try to take advantage of yellow hybrids for, well, being yellow hybrids, then we do have Pokemon to act as the best search engine that we have to dig out our tamers and our hybrid Digimon, and he'll help our hybrids evolve by gaining us some memory with his passive ability to make it evolving even easier. But if we do want to think about running some various other packages, we could think about splashing red and run more of a security control kind of approach with the red options adding some extra removal. And we do have the BT04 Rise Greymon to help facilitate that, because he is a red Digimon, but he's also a yellow Digimon on our field. And he has a nice Digiburst ability to try to help set up our tamers even easier and more efficiently than just hard playing them, with a nice inheritable ability to help control the opponent's field. But if we do want to play the yellow Rise Greymon from BT02, we're more than welcome to do so as well, just because Digivolving up into him, we still get to try to play our tamers as efficiently as we possibly can, which is really, really good, so that way we're not always hard playing them, and on top of that, he also will help whatever level 6 we're using with him deal more damage. As long as we have 3 or more tamers, they'll be able to gain security attack +1. And speaking of our Rise Greymons, we also have Shine Greymon as another really good card to try to take advantage of our Tamers and DP reduce the opponent's Digimon, similar to what we're using Rapidmon for. It's just Rapidmon, it does have his own sets of limitations, but Shine Greymon is a level 6 and Rapidmon is a level 4, so you do have that flexibility in terms of what options you want to run based on what abilities you're looking to gain. And similarly to that, we just have a slew of other level 6 Digimon to try to help us recover if that's the whole goal of what we're trying to gain out of our level 6s. So we have Dynasmon, we have Kazuchimon, we have both versions of Seraphimon, all to help us recover cards in our security to make it very hard for the opponent to kill us in one go. And then on top of that, we also have Ophanimon to think about playing with if we want to take a little bit more of a control approach to try to make Falldown mode be played a little bit easier, with the promo Ophanimon being the best one. Then we do have Zwart Defeat we could try to take advantage of, not only just because we're recovering a lot and there's a high chance he might end up being in there, but because Ophanimon Falldown mode is also parts purple to be able to Digivolve into Zwart Defeat with. Then we do have some other options that we could think about playing with, depending on what we're actually trying to gain and how we're playing the deck. So if we are trying to go for a more Susano finish, then win rate 60% could help us Digivolve into our Susanoomon even easier. Then we have other options to help us recover, so we do have Holy Wave and Tactical Retreat to just try to keep our security as healthy as we can possibly make it. And we have various other control type of tools that we could take advantage of as well, in the form of Wyvern's Breath and Fly Bullets, Gaia Force. Depending on what your supporting color is, we have a slew of different other removal options. Then we do have Yellow Memory Boost as a memory boost to think about playing with if you are going to try to go with that hardcore yellow approach, to act as a good consistency tool, and another memory boost to, boost our memory at a later turn with its delay ability. Then we do have Holy Flame as another stall card to act as a really good security threat, basically shutting off a lot of the opponent's potential aggression. And we do have a slew of other Tamers that we could think about running. The one that I'm going to be highlighting is going to be BT8's Kari Kamiya, just because if you don't feel like running TK or you can't afford TK, Kari is the next best thing, acting as that memory fixing Tamer, while also gaining us memory for us literally doing what the deck wants to do, and that's recover cards and keep our security as healthy as possible. But yeah, for the most part, this is just my interpretation of one way you could build yellow hybrids, and like I stated before, yellow hybrids just has a whole bunch you could do with it, just because, well, the hybrid package isn't necessarily this complete definitive package that's eating up at a whole lot of the deck, so you have a lot of room for flexibility and customization on the sub-packages that you want to run, depending on what you're actually trying to gain out of the deck. I'm just trying to take advantage of the two-color Digimon that we do have to be playing around with to do very powerful things with, and I think this is going to be a very fun and powerful deck for the BT08 meta. So that's all I really have for this video. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, and down in the description below are a couple of different ways you could support me and the channel. So I do have a TCG Player affiliate link, so when you use that link to buy cards off of TCG Player, then some of that money will go to supporting me and the channel. I also do make and sell playmats over on Overcard Gamers on Facebook, so when you buy a playmat with my design, then some of that money will also go to help supporting me and the channel. And on top of all of that, I do have a Twitch account over on twitch.tv/Zenitsu, so giving me a follow and a subscription also helps support me there, and I do play Digimon on top of various other games on that platform as well. So thank you everyone for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.